How did that one kid at your school pass away? He found out he was waiting in the wrong classroom. He was running late for an important test. He rushed down the stairs and tripped on the first step, hitting his head on the railing, which caused him to break his neck. Since it was test week and he was late, he lay there for 20 minutes before anyone found him. Rest in peace, Joey. There's something about people dying at school or work that feels especially tragic to me. They're in a place they likely don't want to be, doing their best, waiting to go home, and then they die. He spent his whole life at school. Rest in peace. He took weight loss pills ordered online that were actually a form of pesticide, trying to get beach ready after his final exams. He died so suddenly and violently that they initially thought it was meningitis. Basically, all his mitochondria fired too hard, and he overheated. It was like watching a fly die after being hit with fly spray. Absolutely redacted. I think we went to the same school, mate. It was horrific. One boy in my year was hit by a bus while running across the road after school. He died in the hospital a week later. Another boy got home from school, said he wasn't feeling well, and went to take a nap. His parents checked on him in the evening and decided to let him sleep it off. They tried to wake him the next morning for school, but he had died in his sleep. It turned out he had meningitis. The meningitis case is eerily similar to a kid at my school. He was only 11, came home with a 101-degree fever. His parents gave him Advil and said they'd take him to the doctor if he still felt bad in the morning. He never woke up. Did he have any other symptoms? That's terrifying. As far as I know, he only had flu-like symptoms. His parents said he never mentioned neck pain. He ran through a glass door, cut an artery in his neck, and bled out at the scene. Blood was everywhere. I was about 12 at the time, and I remember the sound of glass breaking and the screams like it was yesterday. It was absolutely horrifying to witness. At least kids stopped running full speed inside the school and near the doors afterward. When did this happen? I hope they now understand the benefits of tempered glass. It was about 15 years ago. About a year after the accident, they renovated the school and decided glass doors weren't the best idea. Unfortunately, they learned it the most horrific way. He was my good friend, and we were 16. He drowned at the lake. He wasn't even supposed to be there that day. He lied to his grandmother, saying he was going to my house. Instead, he went swimming with a group of kids he wasn't supposed to hang out with. That's how a kid in my elementary school died too. He waded into a cow pond wearing his shoes, went in over his head, and drowned. It was a very small town, and our teachers walked us to the funeral home to view his body in the coffin. There was a hole in his lip because they had to drag the pond to retrieve him. He was wearing a baseball glove. This was in the mid-80s, and I still remember when Jason drowned. That last line made me reread to ensure it wasn't a Friday the 13th reference in a serious thread. No, I didn't mean that connection. Jason was a common name back then, like Josh today. What do you mean by a hole in his lip from dragging the pond? From what I understood, the drag net had hooks, and one caught his bottom lip. They'd sewn it up, but it was very noticeable. His father cut his head off with a buck knife during a meth-fueled episode. Edit. News article provided. I work for a school district. Last year, something similar happened to one of our lower-grade elementary students. Her father beat her to death with a bat and threw her out a second-story window onto the porch roof. When the drugs wore off, he hanged himself in his jail cell. A friend of mine had a seizure in the lunch line, and the administration wouldn't call 911 until they reached her parents. This was 2001, so cell phones weren't common yet. She died while we all watched. That's awful, and I don't say this lightly, but the parents should have sued. Why didn't they call 911 immediately? The parents did sue and won. The administrator was supposed to call 911 per protocol but refused. He no longer works in schools. He came to school with flu-like symptoms, and no one thought much of it. By the end of the day, he showed cognitive impairment. By the time they got him to the hospital, it was too late, and he died from encephalitis. 2 kids in our year died during high school. One died of leukemia in year 8, about age 13. The other, we were told, died suddenly of a viral illness in year 10, age 15. In fact, he died of a drug overdose. Overdosing in year 10 is tragic. Life had barely begun. I went to a rough school, but I thought drug use was mostly softer stuff like marijuana. I don't know what he overdosed on, there were many rumors. Whatever the case, it was such a waste. He collapsed while playing soccer during recess and never stood up again. This happened on the 5A side football field next to where my friends and I were playing. Everyone did everything they could, and paramedics arrived within 10 minutes, but he didn't make it. I didn't know him or his name, But it was so sad. I still think about it sometimes. My high school lost 4 students in 1 year. The first was a popular senior, a wrestler. I didn't know him well as a freshman, but my mom taught at our school, and he was in her class. He took his own life after an argument with his parents about grades. 2 weeks later, his best friend, who had prior depression issues, also took his own life, unable to cope. The school grieved them both deeply, and teachers worried about a cluster of suicides. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Months later, a kid from my class was hit by a bus while walking home. Robbie was funny and always carried a bag of Jolly Ranchers. His friends got Jolly Rancher tattoos when they turned 18. Right before the school year ended, a junior who had just gotten her license ran a red light by mistake and died instantly in a car accident. 2008 was a rough year. My school had a similar experience, though more mundane. We lost 7 kids in my last semester of high school. One had brain cancer, she was my friend, and we ate lunch together. Her death was expected, but still hard. The other 6 died in various car accidents, 2 during spring break alone. 1 kid ran over another. Our school was in a wealthy area, so kids got massive SUVs or overly powerful cars for their 16th birthdays. I was the only 12th grader, then 11th grader, on my bus. 2005 was a rough year. One girl, Turkish, visited her family in the summer and died in an earthquake. Another in my class was hit by a car running a red light on her way to school. It's so sad because the recent Turkey earthquake reminded me of people visiting briefly, like kids at a sports event. It shows how fragile life is, how last-minute decisions can mean life or death. Reading about the Turkish girl made me emotional. We Turkish people are traumatized by earthquakes. In my junior year, a sophomore girl had a seizure during a pep rally and died in her best friend's arms. It shook our school. Sorry for the word choice, I didn't mean the pun. That's the kind of thing that sends you to therapy. When the commotion started, my friend made a glib comment under his breath. Afterward, when we learned she died, he went into depression over joking so close to her death. The school banned taking food out of the cafeteria. He stuffed a whole cheeseburger in his mouth and walked into the halls. He made it 30 feet before collapsing. A big guy, the only one who could attempt the Heimlich was the weightlifting coach. It wasn't enough. Sad stuff. Was this in Indiana? My wife might have been there. My brother was one of those kids. He drove into a wall on an icy December night, unintentionally. Too common. 2 or 3 kids died in high school, all from crashes or being hit. One may have been hit by a drunk driver, another drove into a river. I don't think any were drinking, just new drivers not careful enough. He had an enlarged heart, dropped dead crossing the quad one day. Another, Big Charlie, had an aneurysm. The only kid in our Catholic school planning to join the priesthood, like a Ned Flanders without a mustache and with pimples. He was getting ready for school and fell sideways, still holding his tie. A 14-year-old was shot and killed by a 13-year-old gang-related. A kid in my high school was shot getting out of a car when another car pulled up and gunned him down. He was one of 4 shot at my school. 2 were gang-related, 1 was hit by a stray bullet, and 1 was a hunting accident. He was the only one who died. My first year teaching middle school in a rough area, I overheard a special needs kid talking about getting Nikes weekly for delivering a bag. He didn't know what he was doing. I reported it. A senior died of pancreatic cancer just after graduation. He was the most popular kid, and it shocked the school. His girlfriend in my class turned to meth to cope and died 2 years later. It was brutal. A house fire in 3rd grade killed a kid. Pretty grim. That reminds me of my little brother's friend who died in a house fire on Christmas night in 1st grade. A 17-year-old girl with aggressive leukemia went from healthy to dead in 14 days. We were all in shock. Something similar happened at my school weeks before graduation. Her family thought she had the flu, but her white blood cell count was abysmal. She died a week later at Children's Hospital. 3 good friends died together. One had just passed his driving test and took his mates to celebrate. They sped down a narrow, winding UK country road to overtake a car. As they turned a corner, they crashed head-on into a tractor. All 3 died instantly. None were drinking or tired, just a new driver's reckless mistake. It shook our school and others, as they were popular. The driver's parents kept the mangled car to show at schools, promoting safe driving. There was no hope for survival. A classmate of mine was at fault in a similar crash. He raced down a 2-lane road, tried to overtake, and hit a dump truck head-on. His 2 buddies, none wearing seatbelts, were ejected and died. He survived because of the airbag, was charged, convicted, and served just under a year in adult jail at 18. It really messed him up mentally. He worked at a truck stop where tipping the Coke machine gave free drinks. It fell on him and crushed him. A nice, popular 16-year-old. Soda machines are now bolted down here. Vending machines used to kill a couple of people yearly from tipping, now it's rare. 2 kids died in my small town during high school. One drowned the day he finished 10th grade, drunk at a river party. He wasn't a strong swimmer, got caught in the current, and was found 48 hours later. Another kid and his mother were murdered, their bodies found in a nearby forest. The father's body was found later. Police ruled him out as the killer. It was likely drug-related, with the wife and kid caught in the wrong place. I'm from your hometown. I remember both cases, though I'm younger. Both were so sad, and I hope the murder case is solved someday. In 2002 or 2003, a very important person's son at our school was picked up daily by his driver. One day, the 12-year-old asked to drive the car. The driver, hesitant but afraid of losing his job, agreed. The boy lost control, rammed into a girl, and crushed her against a wall. She died on the spot. I saw it happen. The boy's influential family paid $300,000 in blood money to the girl's family, and no charges were filed. Her sister still posts about her every year on her death anniversary. It's heartbreaking to see someone die for being in the wrong place. Redacted. Like, this is why I resent some rich people. This would have been hushed up 22 years ago, but today it'd be online in minutes with big consequences. A kid was run over by a combine in a cornfield while playing hide and seek. He likely heard it too late, tripped, and was killed. The farmer couldn't have known a kid was in his field. Just terrible luck. My dad, a combine operator, says they can turn deer into mist. Kids have no chance. A 14-year-old girl in 8th grade died from an intentional aspirin overdose. Friends said she was pregnant, possibly by her father, though she and her boyfriend hadn't been intimate. Her family acted strangely at the funeral and cut contact with her friends. She taught me how to cook eggs, such a sweet girl. No one faced consequences, and the truth remains unclear. This was a tough read. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. It's been 16 years, and it still affects me when I think about it. The most notable death wasn't at school. He was driving late at night with his girlfriend when a drunk driver ran a stoplight, flipping their car. His lower spine broke, and a piece of the windshield impaled his stomach, causing him to bleed out. He pulled himself and his girlfriend from the burning car, despite his injuries. Their phones were destroyed, and with no one around early in the morning, the crash wasn't found for hours. His girlfriend survived with a concussion and broken leg but disappeared after recovery. The drunk driver was unharmed but passed out from intoxication. A kid in our high school died in a boating accident at night, colliding with another boat. Both he and the 40-year-old man he hit died. Initial news painted the 17-year-old as reckless, but toxicology showed the older man was high on cocaine and alcohol, an inexperienced boater with his lights off. My classmate, who worked at the marina, knew what he was doing. The truth wasn't front-page news, which angered us. My cousin, 5 years older, walked me home from school at age 8 when she was 13. She taught me dirty jokes and crank calls after my parents' divorce. In high school, she was in a car accident and fell into a coma. In my sophomore year, they took her off life support, and she died. She was one of 11 kids in a Catholic family. The youngest was a year behind me. I felt terrible for her when they announced her sister Angie's death over the school PA. Angie loved the Rolling Stones, and 42 years later, their song makes me cry. They hoped she'd wake up or a treatment would be found, being a devout Italian Catholic family. I'm so sorry. Thanks, it's okay now. He was shot through the head at a stoplight with his girlfriend in the car. The killer was caught because my friend's last word was his name, and his girlfriend survived to testify. She was a badass, enduring grief and bringing the killer to justice. We all said that at school when the story broke. I hope she's doing well and avoided gang-affiliated partners. Being shot at a stoplight feels different, living your life, then gone. He was in a gang, and some say he deserved it, but no one deserves that at 17. Gang life was all he knew, from his parents and grandparents. He told me in ecology class he'd ignore me in the halls to protect me from gang ties. He wanted out, which made his death so sudden and sad. It forced me to face mortality too young. She was thrown off a horse, her left arm tangled in a strap, ripped off, and she bled out at 15. My first girlfriend, I was 16. I wasn't sad, just shocked and empty. Her parents kept the horse, never blaming it, good people I visited often. It was around 1979, and I hadn't thought of it in 30 years. I feel more now than I did then, still numb back then. In first grade, the girl next to me was murdered by her schizophrenic father, stabbed 89 times, the knife left in her chest. He also killed his elderly mother, stabbed 39 times, believing they were Satan. He's still in a facility for the criminally insane, too unstable for trial. At 6, I didn't grasp the gruesomeness until years later. She was so excited when her dad brought her clothes one day, hugging him. It's confusing to think about. Her desk stayed empty all year. The neighbor boy who played with her cried on the circle carpet when we were told. My dad was also schizophrenic, making it an odd thing to process growing up. I should probably see my therapist. I've repressed this for years.